I think to many people's surprise, immersing myself into this underground world wasn't uncomfortable because it was about sex. When I first heard about it, I was very naive and I thought, oh, that must be something that happens abroad. I need to go overseas and I need to do something about it. I need to tell those stories. And then I quickly realized that this was something that was happening literally in my own backyard. I live in Washington, D.C., and it happens on our street. Even going into the brothel, I made sure my mindset was to look at these women as human beings, as businesswomen, as people who chose to do this for their life profession, which means like they don't deserve any less respect than anyone else who's working in what they feel is their life profession. And I'm sure a lot of people there assumed that I would be judgmental because a lot of them, if not most of them, had never met someone who looked like me. I didn't want to sensationalize what they were doing or glamorize or make it about sex, because the reality is the sex trade isn't always about sex. And that's what I wanted to get at. And I wanted to make sure that came from a place of empathy and compassion with every single individual, because they did not owe us the stories they shared with us, and yet they still did. This past year was the hardest year of my life, probably. So it messed with my head a lot, but it was also the hustle. People don't see the behind the scenes of what it takes to put something like that on. And in the middle of all of that, I was also like on tour for speaking, I was getting married, and taking on other projects. So I'm still trying to figure out this whole self-care thing. I try to do as much of it as I can, and I'm trying to like kind of evolve my life into something where it's not needed when you're like at the lowest of lows. It's just something that like you're already taking care of yourself as you go. I had experienced sexual violence the first time when I was 12 years old, and I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, if there are people out there who are going through worse experiences than me, then I have a responsibility to do something about it. Two years ago, Adam and I released a collection called The Noor Effect to combat anti-trafficking. After working on this series, I realized that a huge part of the problem was this lack of a social safety net, and I wanted to shift what I could do to combat youth homelessness, because I realized a lot of times when it comes to exploitation, it like ends up being a poverty issue or a housing issue or an issue with like the government care system. Not to redeem myself, but just to do right by the communities we were talking about, we ended up re-releasing the line and now are donating the half of the profits towards combating youth homelessness, because I really want people to see that issue and understand that this is a problem, and from this problem, things like commercial sexual exploitation end up happening.